Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Sarah, and I'm on the training and support team here at Hawks. And while a few more people join us, I'll go ahead and just give you a brief overview of what our webinar is on today. So what we'll be looking at is the different course admin abilities that you have in a gradebook, and then also just some best practices. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and walk you through some of this. So looking at the gradebook as a course admin, first I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the Tools tab. So underneath the Tools tab, a difference that you'll see as a course admin is that you'll have the ability, if you go under Manage Instructors / Sections, to see all instructors and sections in the gradebook. Here you also have the ability to add instructors to the gradebook and be able to choose their specific role. So as you'll see here, this list of instructors, there's different roles that are involving things such as being a teaching assistant, an instructor, view only, or course administrator. So here, this is also where you can create your own sections or create sections for other instructors. Also, if you were wanting to push out a master section, master curriculum, and all of those same settings apply to other instructor sections, this is where you can do that same thing as well. So for instance, if I was to, click into an instructor, I would have my master section already set up with my templates applied. I could click directly onto that section name. And then that privilege that you have that other instructors don't is this ability here to select apply settings to multiple sections. And this is where you can apply all of your same settings and templates that you have for your master and select the specific instructor or even just specific sections to then save these changes and apply all of that to them. So they would just, these instructors or yourself, if you are creating their sections, would just have to have the sections created first in order to be able to push that out to them. So another thing that we'll look at is if we go to the Tools tab, we'll look over at Manage Students. So I just wanted to point out that as a normal instructor, you would only be able to see your list of students from your sections that are enrolled. But as a course administrator, you do have the option to see all instructors and all students in the gradebook from any section. And then, of course, you have the ability to add, delete, or transfer students. And then lastly, I think on the Tools tab, we'll be looking at the display options. So as a course admin, you'll notice there are just a couple of different settings here that other instructors do not have available to turn on. And so a few of those are that I'll point out is if we scroll down here, you'll see underneath student profile this checkbox that students must use their .edu email addresses when creating their Hawks account, as this does apply to the whole course ID. So all instructors in this specific gradebook would have this setting applied to them if you as an admin turn it on. And so the reason that we kind of do recommend this as a best practice is if you are potentially integrating Hawks with your LMS and you're having students use the single sign-on link to get set up, this just takes into account if students maybe don't follow that single sign-on link and they go directly to our website to enroll and create their account, then this will at least ensure that when they are creating their account, they're not using a Yahoo or a Gmail or a personal email, and instead they are at least still using their .edu email, which makes it easier to then get everything linked and set up instead of potentially merging students if they do click on that single sign-on and instead have technically a second account created. So just as a best practice, I think this is a good setting to go ahead and turn on. And then I think looking at the display tab, there's not much else here that is specific to course admin. So what we'll do is go ahead and head over to the assignments tab. So looking at the assignments tab, we'll jump into curriculum. So here, as you know, curriculum is where you have the ability to edit the questions in the lessons. You can edit the learn screens. You can turn on additional settings. And so here is where I'll walk through some additional things that you as an admin have that ability to do. So I'm going to scroll down here and then select my section. So as an admin, if I go ahead and just click into one of these lessons to open it up, if you are wanting to ensure that all instructors are teaching the same material, using the same questions, you can certainly create a master curriculum and then push that out to instructors to ensure that consistency. But what we're looking at here is if you are in a specific lesson, you'll notice this gear sign on the top right. And then as a course admin, you have the ability to rename lessons. So as you'll see, this is something only you can do as it does apply to the entire course ID. So all instructors and their students are going to see these changes. So for instance, if you are unhappy with how we name this, 1.1, the real number system, then you can certainly rename this lesson to, multiplying and subtracting or whatever it may pertain to what you're teaching and what you feel might be a better fit. But as I said, this will apply to all instructors. So this might be something to consider and make sure that you maybe check with everyone and make sure that that's a common want and need. So coming out of here, I will go ahead and X out of our lesson builder and talk through a couple more of our settings. So I won't go in depth, but some additional things that you might be interested in applying to your curriculum to ensure more consistency is additionally these other settings, such as the require practice feature, our flex mastery, enhanced practice as well. So just a few things to consider if you are wanting to copy this curriculum out to ensure that consistency. So if you select the setting to share your curriculum with other instructors, as you'll see I have over here, then what you can do is instructors can then create their own copy of that template and make any of their own additional edits, as long as you do not have it locked. So as long as you just have that first checkbox checked off. So that allows the instructors to make their changes. So as an admin, you can also lock the template though, if you do not want anyone making changes or unassigning it. So once you lock it, if you assign it out to another instructor, if they select it or try to apply it to their section, then it will automatically lock it for them and it'll become grayed out, which prevents the instructor from selecting it and maybe even clicking on a different template or making changes. So if you want to share and allow instructors to make changes, you would just check off to share. If you want to gray it out, meaning that they cannot make any sort of changes and they have to use exactly what you have, you would want to lock it and then go ahead and apply that template to their settings. So now what we'll do is jump back out of assignments. I'm going to go ahead and leave and then go to lesson due dates. So some course admins will create a master template and set up lesson due dates for the instructors. You can choose the setting to share the template. If I come down to one of these templates. So as you'll see here, as I was saying, you can click on the setting in the specific template to share so that other instructors can go ahead and use the template and then also copy the template, make their own, and then modify the dates that you provide if you want to give them some flexibility on the dates and assignments, but at least give them that good baseline for what assignments to use. And then also, if you want instructors to follow exactly the dates that you set, then you can choose to lock the template and assign it out to instructors. So basically by doing the same thing that we saw underneath the curriculum, you would lock it, and that way instructors would not be able to make their own changes and would have to use exactly what you had. So if instructors do want to take their own copy, then something that they can do is, if I go back to lesson due dates one more time. Try that again. Okay, there we go. And then go to manage by template. This is a good way, if you do have it shared, your template, is to go to manage by template. The instructor can select the checkbox next to that template that they want to use, and then select copy selected items. So once you make that copy, it'll show up sort of like what this looks like here and say copy one of, and then the instructor can then from there click directly onto that copy, rename it to include, instead of being maybe master template, they could include their name in it, so that way they know that this is their own copy where they can make their own changes and then apply it to their own sections. So then when it comes to, out of the assignments tab, looking at web test. So this is something as an admin, you can create web tests, you can share them, you can lock them, and assign them to instructors' sections. So locking a web test is going to lock its content and its settings so that only course administrators are able to make those changes. So locked settings include the general settings. So if I look over here, looking at this settings tab, so locking it will be the general settings, additional settings, the student settings, prerequisites, basically everything here is going to be the exact same for instructors. Meaning if you set the specific dates and times, that would be locked for instructors as well. So if the test is shared without being locked though, then what that will do is any instructor will be able to make changes to the test content and settings. So if you want instructors to use the web test, but have the ability to have their own settings, especially the dates and times the exam is open, then you can just share the exam and assign it to their sections, but leave it unlocked. Instructors can also copy any web tests that are shared and unlocked to make their own content settings or modifications. So here is, as you'll see, as an admin, if I look to assign an exam, I do see all instructors and all sections listed. So if I do have an exam that is shared but not locked, and I want to maybe leave the general settings for the exam open. So if I was to take a look at this one and look at the general settings, I could go ahead and leave that start and end date blank, but go ahead and assign the test to all of my instructor sections while leaving it, as I said, unlocked. And then they could come in here when they know when they want to give their test to their students and provide that start and end date and other information. So that's everything on the assignments tab. And then lastly, we'll go ahead and take a look at the reports tab. Because as a course administrator, you can see analytics across all instructors sections that will give you a big picture overview of how these courses are going. So just as you'll notice here, we have quite a few reports, but we have highlighted a key 4 at the top of the page. So looking at all student scores, first, this is going to allow you to see, if I click into this, a specific instructor's section and see how their students are performing. So you have that full list of all instructors, and then as you select an instructor, you can see all sections or select a specific section of theirs, and then even narrow it down to the specific student or assignment type. Or you can just display scores and leave it at that, and see an overview that way. So this is a really good way to see how students are performing. Going back to reports, we also have our detailed student grades. So this is where you can take a more in-depth look at a student's performance by either typing out or selecting their name from the list. And then you can also use our search by criteria, which allows you to combine different filters, and you can select a specific instructor, or even better, you can select all instructors, and then try to select all sections and get an idea of students who maybe have a grade between 0 and 70 and students who haven't logged in for the past 5 days. So this is a report that's really good for filtering and finding that specific group of students that fall into these categories. And you do have that ability to set multiple different filters, as you'll see here. So once you have identified those students that fall into those categories, once I filter my report, it's going to provide me with that list of students that I can then actually use our internal system to send them a message. So you can blind copy everyone, and you can reach out saying, hey, I see you haven't logged in the past few days, or make sure you're keeping on top of your assignments, or come see me in office hours or something like that. And of course, you can always do this on the other end and reach out to those students that might be doing really well in these courses. And then lastly is our most popular report, which is Assignment Reviewer, as this provides both section and student level data, including, as you'll see once this starts loading, completion information. If I select a different instructor here. So as you'll see, here's some information on the students that are taking these lessons or web tests. You'll see we have 2 different options, and you can see all of the same information for all instructors in the gradebook, and allowing you to see that time on task information. We have question analytics for both the lessons and the web test, and you can review student assignment attempts through this report for for any student in any section. So that is everything on the reports tab. And that is actually everything that I wanted to go over today. So I will go ahead and just take a minute or two and check out our Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know and chat those in there. But thank you all for coming today. And if you don't have any questions right now or think of something later, you can always get in contact with us using our website for the 24/7 live chat, or you can always reach out to us via phone Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And you also additionally have your designated training and support specialist who is here and can help you with any questions or things you might need. So I will go ahead and check out the chat really quick. So there was a question saying, you'll be using the single sign-on for the first time this semester, and does that mean that the students will not need to create a password for their Hawks account? That's a great question. So using the Hawks single sign-on link for a student, I think is really great, because the answer is no, they don't need to create their account at all. Basically, what we will do is as they click on that single sign-on link, it will automatically create their account for them and enroll them into your course, starting out with their, free temporary access. So as students do click on that link at the start of the term, they don't need to worry about actually filling out all the information to create an account or have a password. So as students are doing that, it will use their .edu email address because that's what is associated with your LMS. And that is why we do say underneath that Tools tab, Display Options, to go ahead and turn on that students must use their .edu email address when creating their account. Because if students do instead try to go directly to our website to create their account and don't click on that link, then we know that they will at least be creating their account with their .edu, meaning that they won't have two separate accounts when they do click on that single sign-on link eventually, which creates their account with their .edu. So it looks like that was our only question. So thank you all so much. Looks like we're out of time today, but please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other additional questions. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great start to the term. Thank you.